Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me again for a wee bit of chat about life, bikes, and faith. And I hope you enjoy our time together. And I'm just going to start off really today talking about the early years of my life. Um, Born in Belfast, Royal Victoria Hospital. And I was named Gavin William Wesley, by my parents. And the reason why I got Gavin was because one of the doctors his surname was Gavin. He worked in the maternity unit. And apparently I was a bit of a problem. My birth was a bit of a problem. And I know I'm a bit of a problem since my birth. But so my mother named him after that doctor, Dr. Gavan. So my early years were spent in East Belfast. We lived in the Craigie Estate, which is quite famous now because George Best lived there. And little did I know years later that I would meet George Best in Belfast with his daddy. And I met him. I was actually doing a wee job on George and doing some pictures and stuff. And took the pictures, and lo and behold, I didn't realise George was standing. The Crown Bar was behind, but that wasn't intentional. But so I took a copy of the picture up to his dad, Dickie Best, who still lived in the Craigie Estate. And Dickie was not keen on press people at all because of the stuff they wrote about George and everything. And it's quite understandable. But eventually I got into his house and I went back a few times more. And I used to love just Dickie talking about George playing football and everything. And one of the favourite stories he told me was when he went to Manchester and came home again because he was homesick and stuff. His daddy encouraged him to go back, but left it entirely up to him. So George wrote a letter back to Manchester United. Dickie told me that one day they were going to Bangor for the day, and he brought the letter with him, and George posted the letter at the post office at Bangor. And I always, a bit sentimental, every time I see that post office letter box, I always think of George. But another story he told me was whenever United beat Chelsea one time, and George played so well that night that even though when Chelsea got beat, all the Chelsea players, or most of them, lined up and applauded him off the pitch. So Dickie used to tell me all these great stories, and yeah. And then I went with Dickie and the family to Manchester for George's memorial service. It was a big occasion, and met all the Man United players and stuff and all that. But we went for a visit to Old Trafford, and Dickie was there. And I remember when we're trying to go into the museum that the girl in reception, she's handing me out these museum guides or something, and she's going sort of £5 each, £5. And I says, if you don't mind me saying, but this is George Best's father and whatever, and it didn't seem to register with her. And even down on the pitch, I asked, could I get a photograph taken of Dickie on the pitch, be nice for him and his family. And the big security man said, no way. He said, nobody gets on this pitch. And I said, oh, okay then. So I went to Pat Curran, who was a good friend of George and played for United himself, and he sorted that out for me. So I thought it was a bit sad, a guy that was so famous playing for United that, just. But there you go. That's life. And then sadly Dickie passed away as well. But he was hard work. Like I tried to get a picture of him, and he didn't like the camera one bit. But eventually got a photograph of him outside Old Trafford, and I think that made the back page of the papers. So Craig is a bit special to me, and I remember just as a very small child. I don't remember much about it. I remember a small child, like a big bus or something, came around with all the vegetables, and my mummy bought all the stuff for dinner and everything. And but I can't really remember that much about it. And then I moved to the outskirts of Belfast, to Dundonald, and I remember a lot more about Dundonald. And but when I look back, it was good days, good memories. Growing up as a child, and I remember my first day at school. I remember walking from the house with my daddy, straight past the Ulster Hospital, which wasn't there then. And my daddy took me straight down into the school, and I think I met the headmaster, and so he made sure it was okay, and so I went through P1, P2, and all that stuff, and I quite enjoyed the school, but with some great laughs at it, you know. I remember one day, I remember his very name, a fellow called Donald Jackson. He asked the teacher to go to the toilet, and of course the teacher said, "There you go, Don. Just go down the corridor there." And but from where our class was, I could see the main gate. Next thing I see is Donald running through the gate. He didn't go to the toilet at all. He went on home. Fair play to him. And but great memories of school, primary school and stuff. And I always remember the year 1961, where must have been a maths teacher or something, but he had 1961 on the blackboard, and he said if you write 1961 upside down, it'll still be 1961. We memories like that, and remember even learning to knit. Imagine, I'm embarrassed to say it, but the boys then days, used to learn to knit and weave baskets and all that, all them sort of things, and but the school was quite strict. There was no messing about. And remember one day coming home from school, and just down here, there's a wee playground beside a river down to Moat Park. I don't know what happened, but these boys attacked me and put me into the river. Then they took my shoes off me. So I had to walk home with 2 wet feet and without shoes, which were quite expensive in those days. So I wonder, I'd love to know who done that to me, because I'd like to get my own back. No, I'm only joking. But all them sort of things happened at school, and it wasn't the high tech experience that you have today. And then so I moved on from school then up into high school, and well, I could talk the hours about school, the times I had and everything, and but maybe getting back to where I lived in a place called Ardcarn, and it was a sort of, in them days, it was like a mixed estate. It's terrible you have to talk this way, but that's the way it was. It was mainly Protestant and some Catholic families, and even hate talking like this, to be honest. But that's the way it was. That's the reality. And but grew up, and it was, looking back, I was just mad. Because especially when you got a bit older and playing football and stuff, and you played all together. There's no religion didn't come into it at all. But come the 12th of July, and this was way before the Troubles. Come the 12th of July, you're calling them all this year, and we're calling names and everything, and it was awful. When I think back on it, it's just horrendous, awful. And then when the Troubles. Trouble started, the estate eventually became nearly 100% Protestant. But as some great friends, in that estate, I remember a guy called Patsy Moan. Oh, he was mad. But I remember he had a wee Honda 90, and he gave me a spin on it, on the back. And little did I know, there's no footrest on the back. And so we were boring around these corners, and my ankle, or my heel locked in the back wheel and spokes, and it near took the heel off me. There's blood everywhere. And Patsy was mad, but used to do things in them days you wouldn't do now. I used to, I remember one time some guy came to a wee small car, wee Mini or something, or Hillman Imp or something, and three or four of us just sat in his bonnet. Then he started the car up, and a couple jumped off, but I wouldn't. So he just took off. And then he hit the brakes hard, and I went up into the air and on the road. Well, that taught me a lesson, not to be sitting in people's bonnets. But all them sorts of things were going on, and then two wheels was very much in the picture in our car. And I remember my daddy bought me a wee rally bike. I think it was only a 14-inch. He actually bought it from a road racer, a fella called Tommy Brown, lived in Brotchers Bray and going into Newton Arch. Still always look up at that wee house. Always remember getting that wee bike, wee red rally in. And it was a matter of standing on the wee wall. There's none of this sort of, you okay, son, you watch you don't fall off. It was a matter of getting on that bike, falling off it a few times, and then learning to ride it. Well, I just loved it. Used to love it. And then when I got a wee bit older on the bicycles, I started to be, well, nearly everybody started to have an interest in motorbike racing. We used to have races in the state and up at the top of the hill, right down into the sharp right hand bend. And by then I was on sort of like a racing bike, and we did cycle hard. And and you had a fantasy. People have a fantasy now about Marquez and Rossi and stuff. Mike Hillwood was always in my head, and I actually thought I was him, getting in the corners. So I just rode as hard as I could round the corners, and lo and behold, usually ended up in your ear. Cuts and scraped knees and all sorts. But no, they were fun days, good fun days. And but life in the state was just jumping hedges, rapping doors, playing hopscotch, marlies, all that stuff. And when you got a wee bit older, you played catch a kiss, where the girls ran away, and you were supposed to close your eyes, and then you ran and got them. But you usually got a slap on the face rather than a kiss. But they were good days, and then I always remember, at Christmas time and stuff like that. There, for some reason at Christmas everybody got a gun. No wonder Northern Ireland was such a terrible place to live. Everybody got guns. I remember getting this Winchester rifle. Oh, I used to love to load it and stuff. But you just want to go around killing everybody. And there was an old RAF camp beside our car, and we used to go up there, lie on roofs and waiting for the enemy to come, and then shoot them dead and all that stuff. But oh my goodness. Then you used to have fights. There was a place called Summerhill close to us, and I remember our car and they took on Summerhill. So it was like something, the Cowboys and Indians, they stood at the top of the hill, and we crossed the river ready to go at them. But they can just charge them down the hill. We all turned, and I got stuck nearly in the river. So glad to escape, because they would have killed you. But you used to do all them sorts of things, and yeah, they were special days. And then the motorbikes came along, and everybody had motorbikes. The older fellas, and looking back now, they're only maybe 18, 19 years of age, 20 years of age. But some of the guys who come into our state, they had big bikes, Bonnevilles, big BSA Gold Stars, and big bikes. And of course, I wanted to get a bike. I had to get a bike, but I was too young, didn't have a license or anything. But I remember, I'm not too sure whether I bought the bike or a couple of us bought it, but there's this old Norton, 500cc Norton. And I think we paid a fiver for it. Like, it would have been worth hundreds of thousands now, maybe. But we rode up and down the railway line, just flat out as we could go. And then it came to the opportunity for me to get a bike myself. But oh man, it was mad. Used to love getting on the bikes, and most people didn't wear helmets. I didn't wear a helmet, but later on I got one, and there was nothing so satisfying as putting the goggles down and going for a spin down the Bangor and go down Broadshew's Bray, corner after corner, and you couldn't go into the corner just sensibly. You had to be buffing the foot pegs, and oh my goodness, they were crazy days indeed, and I better stop there and talk about something else. So that's just give you a wee picture of what it was like for me growing up in Ardcarn. I still have a lot of affection from Ardcarn. Made a lot of friends, people that I haven't seen for years, and my mother continued to live on in Ardcarn, and then she moved on down into near Newtonards Road. And so yeah, I've happy memories. But it was a wild place, Ardcarn. In them days there wasn't many cars, but they were flying up and down the road. There was no speed limits, and there was a wee fellow lived beside me, David Clark, and I don't know the exact details, but he got ran over by a coal lorry or something. And poor David lost his leg, and in them days, whether most of us wore short trousers, David was walking about with a wooden leg, and it was sort of scary to look at, and but there's no speed restrictions, and people got in the cars, and mothers with their babies sat in the front, or it was just drunken driving was wild in them days. Drunk drivers were everywhere. They could hardly get out of the car. And but that's just a little picture of my early days in Ardcarn. And I'm going to move on there. I'm going to read a story from the Bible, and it's a lovely story. It's a story that most people know. It's a story of the prodigal son. So.
Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32, the parable of the lost son. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. "Your brother has come," he replied, "and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound." The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, "Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him?" "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found."
Do you know that song, "I'll Do It My Way"? That's like the eldest song. It's my way or no way. And so the father didn't say too much, and he gave his son his inheritance. I have two sons myself, Jonathan, who lives in Singapore, which is very far away, and Timothy, who lives outside Lisburn, and maybe not as far, but even so, whenever they're away from home, I miss them so much. And I'm always delighted when I know they're coming home. With Jonathan coming home, really looking forward to seeing him, and Timothy when he's coming up to see me with his children, Eli and Emily. I really look forward to that as well. But I just want to home in on this story, what it really means. The young fellow decided to head off, and as we were just saying, and but now it's time to come home. Time to come home. I wonder, am I speaking to anybody? And it really is time to come home. It's time to come back to the Father. Time to come back to your Father. I've been away myself. You could write the story of the prodigal son 100 times in my life, because I did things my way. And so the son gathers himself up, and the father is watching for him and waiting. The father is watching for you, and he's waiting. We talked the other day about God being a God of pity. But God is a God of love. And as the father sees the son coming, once he saw him, he ran. And he ran, and he ran, and he ran. He probably ran quicker than he'd ever run before. I don't know whether the son ran or not. He probably stopped. I'm thinking, oh no, here's my father there. I'm in for it. I am in for it. I am in for it. He probably felt ashamed. But then the father started to get nearer and nearer. And I could just imagine that scene when the father is getting closer and you can see his face. Yes, he was dressed as a beggar, but so what? The son was thinking, oh, my father, you'll see how dirty I am. How dirty. How dirty I am. But no, as soon as the Father made contact with the Son, his arms went round him and he showered him with kisses. You see, the Father is a God of love. The Father didn't say, look at the state of you, you're ridiculous, you're an embarrassment to my family. I told you you shouldn't have went away. You just done your own thing. You're a disgrace to the family. The Father kissed him and kissed him and hugged him and hugged him. I was saying a wee prayer this morning about something, and I was just thinking about the love of the Father. And I said, maybe you're not supposed to say these things. I said, Father, would you give me a hug? Would you give me a big hug? And so the Father was delighted to bring the Son home. You know, for anyone that responds to the Father, anybody that loves, wants to turn to the Father and believe, do you know, I believe the heavens erupt. The angels rejoice. Heaven roars whenever somebody comes back to the house. Somebody comes to be with the Father. And so the Father prepared a feast for his sons. He said to his servants, bring me a pair of shoes. You see, in them days, if you didn't wear shoes, you were like a slave. But shoes spoke of sonship, of standing. The Son was now standing in Christ. He was standing in the Father's house. You bring me a ring. The Father got his ring and put it on his Son's fingers. The ring represents sonship. The ring represents the unity between the Father and the Son. Get the fire on. Let's have a feast. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate. You know, the celebration is like, you know, celebrating on the sacrifice of the Lord Jesus. Let's celebrate his love. And, you know, the Son must have been shell-shocked because he didn't deserve it. He didn't deserve this treatment. He was a waster. I remember a fella used to call me a waster. Tim, call, you're a waster. He was a waster. He wasted all. He wasted his life. Everything. But the other son, he wasn't too pleased. There's no hugs or kisses from the other son. Oh, the other son was a great fella. He kept the commandments. He was faithful to his father. Didn't complain. Went about his business. Done everything. But he was angry. The other son was angry. The other son represents religion, like the Pharisees. They were angry. They were angry. They could not enjoy. That son could not enjoy the celebrations. He wouldn't even go into the celebrations. And in those days, if you did not went to a family celebration, it was a snub. It was a cultural sort of thing. It was a snub. He snubbed at the Father's house. You can learn so much from this story. You can learn so much. I would encourage you to read it yourself. My God is a God of love. I feel his hugs. I feel his kisses. I feel his delight in me. 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 My Christianity, whatever's not saying prayers, being good living. My Christianity is knowing the Father, enjoying the Father. I talk to my Father in heaven the way I would talk to my own Father. He's my Father. Yes, I mess up all the time. You know, we sometimes have a wee grandson, he messes up terribly. Oh, you give him his dinner and he fires it everywhere. Floor everywhere. And it's even underneath the chair. I don't know how his food gets underneath the chair, but he just makes a real mess. But it's not a problem. I clean it up till it's spotless. And I believe there's someone who I'm speaking to is in a mess. But I'm going to tell you, there's someone to clean it up. And that's the Lord Jesus. That's not the church of so-and-so, the church of that, or the church whatever. That's the Father. That's the Father. And I just trust, as I finish off, that you would know, no matter what mess you're in, no matter what sins you've committed, no matter what you've done, no matter if you were maybe a believer like me and you went away from the Father's house. I've done it countless times. But the Father's waiting for you. And you know something? You'll be far better off. It's great being back with God and back with the Father. You know, it's brilliant. You know, it's just brilliant. Even death, even the grave or nothing, it's not a problem because you have the Father. You have the Father's love. The Father's not going to leave me in death. The Father's taking me home. I remember in the cancer hospital, I was feeling very low, really low, and all I could say was, God help me. I just felt so weak. It's not like me. I couldn't eat, and I love my food. I couldn't eat. I just felt unwell. God help me. And God did help me. Big time. My Father helped me. I just want to share that with you. I don't want to share religion with you. I don't want to share what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. I'm encouraging you to go to the Father. You messed up. And He will hug you. He will kiss you. And He will love you forever. And you will be secured forever. More than anything, your heart will be full of joy. Remember we Sunday school course, I've got the joy down in my heart. Down in my heart. I used to love that. Well, I can honestly say today, despite all that's going on, everything that's going on, despite all my typical things goes on each day, I may be down a wee bit, or I might be angry a wee bit, or all these things. They don't really matter, because I'm a human being. But I've got the joy down in my heart. God bless you, and hope you have a good day, and I hope you enjoyed my time in Belfast as a little boy, and my time talking about my Father. Bye for now.